Thanks, Steve, and welcome everybody. Most of you, or a large proportion, you're probably well aware of the Obesity Collective, but I just wanted to explain who we are and where we're coming from those that may be new to us. As the term suggests, we are a collective. We are a wide coalition of individuals and groups and organisations that are working to improve the management and prevention of obesity. So the collective really is just a way of bringing together a very disparate range of voices with a common focus. And that common focus is to promote evidence-based action on prevention treatment. And particularly, we have a particular focus on stigma, which some of our speakers will be addressing later, because we see stigma as such a barrier to improve prevention and management action. So next slide, please. So as Steve pointed out, we have, as well as dealing with the World Obesity theme, which is changing systems to improve healthier lives, we've added an extra dimension because it's such an important issue for the Obesity Collective, and one we see such a huge barrier in Australia, and that's improving equity in obesity through changing systems to create healthier lives. And hopefully in the speakers that follow me, you'll hear about situations that have created inequity in obesity, and followed by speakers who are going to be talking about how we're going to deal with reducing that inequity. Inequity is obvious to anyone who's been dealing with issues around obesity. So you see huge inequalities in the prevalence of obesity. So if you just look at this data from 2018, it just compares some of our wealthier suburbs in our major cities to some of our less wealthier regional areas. And you can see huge inequality in terms of the prevalence of obesity. Next slide, please. And as Steve pointed out, it's important that we not look at those figures and say people in those areas need to be doing more to prevent themselves from getting obesity and to manage their own obesity. Whilst it's obviously true and people in those situations understand that, their inequalities in obesity prevalence are being driven by inequities in the systems that serve them. I'll have to complain about the system we had today in terms of setting up this webinar, which is an example of a very poor system. And that's exactly what people in these areas that suffer high rates of obesity are dealing with as well, except their systems are much more important and have a much more profound effect on their life. So they're dealing with poor planning, they're dealing with poor provision of services, they're dealing with financial stresses, with a whole range of issues around employment, around transport, around a whole range of issues that are beyond their control. And that's why in this particular webinar, whilst we want to focus on changing those systems, we want to focus on changing those systems to reduce the inequity that they create as well, which we see within the Obesity Collective as one of our most important objectives to improve the health and wellbeing of every Australian. So I'll pass on to